Today I'm talking to the Belgian artist David Claerbout. David, it's really so nice to see you. Hi.
Nice to talk to you.
Okay, so let me briefly introduce you. You are a video artist who works with photography, film, video, sound, digital media, and drawings. In our collection, we have two of your artworks. One is Kindergarten Antonio Sant'Elia, 1932 from 1998, and Long Goodbye from 2007. They have both been acquired in 2009 and 2010, followed by a solo show of yours in 2010 as well. But today we want to focus on Long Goodbye, which is currently on display here at Pinakothek der Moderne, and I've prepared 4 questions for you. Are you ready?
I hope so.
Okay, so can you talk a little bit in your own words about the storyline of your video? So what do you give us to see?
What I give to see, I think, is something that I got to see myself a long time ago when I visited this place, kind of magical garden in near Avignon, where an old house, it's called a Bastide, is situated in kind of a rough garden, which is not very well taken care of. But this imposing house is eclipsed by this gigantic southern French vegetation. And it gave me the idea to make a piece where the more we see, the less light there is, the more there is revealed of the place, the less light there is. So it's a house, a garden, and it's the passage of a day that we are witnessing. And then there's a woman. She's coming out with a tray of whatever, coffee or tea, putting it on the table. She turns towards the camera and a little bit as if the camera is caught in the act of voyeurism towards that woman. The camera is moving backwards ever faster, and she's waving goodbye. That's in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you. Well, yes, so in my perspective, what I always think when I see your works, I mean, many of your works, is that two of the most important aspects seem to be time and motion. And so let's talk about the latter first, because what I find is really important to point out, and you said that already, is the camera movement and what it may imply. So when I saw your work for the first time, when the woman notices the camera, I felt almost caught scrutinizing her every move, because this is what you make us to do, to watch her very intensely. And then the camera zoom out, feels analogous to my almost embarrassed wish to retreat past the bushes deeper into the garden. But then there's this other thing, because the woman smiles, takes a few steps into the viewer's direction, and then kindly waves. And this is the moment that compels me to turn back. But of course, I can't, since I'm trapped in the movement of your camera. And yeah, was this your aim, to put us, the viewers, into the position of a voyeur?
I'm so I would never think in terms of either a power play of visual power of the viewer on top of an abused subject. This is not, I mean, if there's something that I'm contrary to, it's that what I'm looking for is an encounter that where the layers of yourself, the film, time, and this person in the film, where these layers become visible.
Mm-hmm.
And where they don't touch, but they approach one another's magnetic field, so to speak. And I do that with very simple techniques. In the case of The Long Goodbye, I am using two opposed speeds in cinema and film and video, namely fast forward time and decelerated motion in film. So the movement of the lady is all in all a minute and a half in length. The recording of the day on site is an entire day, starting from, if I remember well, somewhere 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning until the sun goes down, basically. So there are two radically different ways of recording duration that have been shifted in a similar environment and that live together, so to speak. So that brings me to answer your question about voyeurism. In fact, the opposite. I'm always looking for two non-reconcilable parties living and trying to bring them together and to make them coexist without eating one another or without violent conflict. This is all I'm doing. And in The Long Goodbye, it's about a large amount of time and a very short amount of time coexisting. Now, when it comes to the end, as you so rightly say, the end is a little bit unsatisfying, isn't it? Because you are moving away, the camera is moving away, you're not moving away, but the camera is moving away. The light is going down, it's the end of the day. And it's actually all the opposite of getting to know one another. It's going away one another, but at the same time approaching. So they're conflicting, I would say they're conflicting moods simply through the technology that I was using. And I think that was, in the end, the most important for me was to create a space of time where you would be able to observe conflicting states that somehow embrace one another as well.
Yeah.
All my work is about peace.
Yeah, I mean, it always feels very calm. I remember when I was at Kindle in Berlin and saw your work, Olympia, exhibited there. It was, I spent there hours actually sitting in these beanbags and just watching this very, very slow motion of the camera. So yeah. Well, but also to me, and this was the same at Kindle, for example. To me, this artwork also plays a lot with our viewing behavior and especially the perception of time. You've already anticipated what I wanted to ask, because so the whole work, Long Goodbye, runs for 12 minutes, but it shows an action that in fact wouldn't take that long. You said like a little bit more than a minute or something. So you elongate this act through translating it into slow motion, but then you also said that in the end, when we see the trees and their shadows, there is a fast movement in quick motion. And so this means that these two different elements of time collide within this very image, this one image. And yeah, how do you do that? And what was your main objective in doing this?
I was wondering, maybe is now the moment to share with you a few images of the productions. So let me see how I can do this here. Can you see it?
Yeah, it's there. So we have the first slide that we see.
We have the first slide.
Long Goodbye on it.
And okay, there I go. And so this is the situation. We emptied a swimming pool long time before, because to get a straight track from the house to the end of the garden, which I would say is about 100 meters maximum, we had to go through the swimming pool. So that's why we made this construction. And as the day progresses, as the light progresses, we move this track backwards. And at moments, we are actually moving 1 centimeter per second per frame. I know this sounds a little bit abstract, um, but it's really quite variable. So as you can see here, we are recording in two different chapters. One is in the studio and one is on location here. And then we are bringing those together. This is a test with the actress in the studio in front of a blue screen, where she is recorded with a high-speed camera, so she can be slowed down considerably, and up until 12 minutes. And then some impressions of a very long time ago of how you do the tracking of the feed to make it fit with a soil which is not which is not there. This gives you, the next picture gives you an impression of the camera being, if I'm not mistaken, this is in the evening light, but I'm not sure. This is so
It looks
long ago.
quite warm. It looks like that.
It could be. Yeah, it's I mean the camera here is positioned rather at the beginning of the track, so maybe it should be in the afternoon. And yeah, so it was all done with a still camera and with a high-speed camera. This is me in my younger days, giving a few instructions. The lady is Claire Chevalier. She's a well-known piano player. But she had a particular grace and she volunteered to figure for the film.
Perfect.
And then here are some impressions of, or some stills of her. A note about the black hole in the door. I think that was quite an important one for me, is that, that it would start with the black hole. And I have been using this dark space hidden behind a wall several times. When I think about Man Under Arches, which is one of my first interactive video pieces, it's really about two black holes under an arch, created by the shadow of an arch, where a man, which is in fact a portrait of myself, is walking in and out, in and out, in and out, like a rat in a cage. And until someone comes into the space and he's just disappearing, but not coming back, as long as there are people. So from a black hole, she comes out, and from the door, she comes out, and as if, you know, we are not there, notices, as you said, she notices you as the camera is already retreating quite a bit. And I think at that point, it first becomes visible that you're neither watching just a slow motion, you're also not watching fast motion, but you're watching a mix of different temporalities in film. When you see the leaves jumping up and down and moving across the facade. And as you notice, this basically the light is going out. When she says goodbye, it's the end of the light. And I do end with pitch blackness, with the film, with the night coming in and the light going out. So, and then it loops.
Yeah, it's perfect because you really managed to to match the level of the feet with the ground and also the lightning. I don't know how you did that, but it looks perfect.
Oh, it certainly, I wouldn't describe it as perfect anymore. I mean, I
Yeah,
know that one of your questions is how do you look at it, what is it, 14 years later?
yeah, that's the
Um,
final
I,
question and
I
the.
would say for me, it would always be with a very critical gaze, because I am aware, like you do, also, is that technologies really only stay with us and stay current very briefly. This has been fascinating me over the years, why that is, and why, for example, viewers who were witnessing the first motion pictures in Paris would have marveled at finally we have reached the end point of witnessing our life and motion
Mhm,
in an image. This is where we arrive. And in fact, we have witnessed over the decades that, you know, every generation has this. It has this a frame of reference which is current, and the next generation looks at images made by the previous generation, and they fall apart for many reasons. So an artist working in film always has to live with that. Has
mhm,
to prepare for image technologies becoming redundant and embarrassing. And this has been occupying my head since the very beginning. And this is why I think I worked with all found images that already showed their age
mhm.
when I was beginning. And I kind of kept on gathering this collection of historical photographs.
Like with kindergarten, for example,
For
right?
example, with kindergarten is a very good example. How did architects, people, photographers who were documenting a brand new building in the
Mhm,
1930s or the 1920s, how did they think about the way this was going to come through 100 years from there? And the wonderful thing is that you do notice when you look well, you notice life streaming through the work of others, even long after they're dead. You just shouldn't look at, you just should look at it in the right place. And
mhm,
and you should not want to have a kind of pornographic power over images,
mhm,
because um that's what historical material gives us. It gives us something that we could relate to as a dominant figure on top of, with kind of male chauvinist gaze up on top of, and playing this power game on top. You shouldn't do that. You should instead treat that material as if they were orphans,
mhm,
as if they had something to tell, but nobody's actually bothering looking properly into them. That's where my interest in historical images comes from.
mhm,
Far less important, I believe, is the name and the date and the place and the event and the tragedy and the death and the casualties. That's far less important in the end.
mhm. Yeah. Um, Maybe we should try to stop sharing your presentation so to see you better in full. Perfect.
Did it
Um,
work? Okay.
yeah, that worked. Because what I mean, yes, those are like technical things to consider, but also why I was interested to show this work, Long Goodbye, today and for the next months is I think our perception really of time and how we use time changed so much within the last 14 years, right? I mean, we are really used to flip through images within a split second, and it's hard for people to concentrate. I have the feeling this is also what I observe when I go through the galleries and see how visitors interact with art. And I have the feeling, I mean, I can't tell, but maybe 14 years ago, the perception of this video piece was also a different one for the audience.
No doubt, no doubt. I think it is possible that there is a moment where museums are going to be considered a wasteful because they're slow. They invite contemplation, and it might be that museums start behaving as a flipping through mechanism. Yeah? That could be, and that's going to be the end of it, for sure. I think what's happening is that the different positions in relation to time and the way we use time become more explicit and become more exclusive. A museum becomes an inflated situation where you spend a lot of time with very little events going on. You get what I mean. It's becoming more explicit. While, for example, Instagram will then move towards something that's more explicitly very fragmented way of dealing with the events that other people are doing are making. Not that the nature of time itself changes, because the little that I understand now, being in 2021 in relation to 2007, is so, I mean, if we speak about time, we should actually spend a moment and taking a moment to look at, is it at all possible to say what it is? The answer is, of course, no, but we have a device that gives us the illusion that we can measure time, which is clock time. Some people know it by atomic time, some people know it by quantum time or fragmented time. From there, it's true that this is a gigantic tool to manipulate, organize our lives, efficiency, globalization. As you may know, the synchronization of time worldwide or Europe-wide came first with the synchronization of trains, isn't it? Because trains had to arrive at a particular moment at a station, not to create confusion for the passengers. And in other words, the reason why I think a largely undiscovered aspect of time is energy.
Yeah.
Today is not the day to elaborate very much on that, but we often speak about time and space as related. We know how they are related. We also know that we spatialize time, that therefore we are able to create a past, a present, and a future. But in fact, I believe that the mistake we're making there is that we are actually not spatializing time, we are linearizing time. We are putting time on a line. That's not quite the same as dividing time in space. Then comes energy. And the reason why we're able to reflect upon time why we are able to spend some time not having to, chase back and forward for survival, is simply because we have an abundance of energy. And as long as we have an abundance of energy, we are able to reflect upon the nature of time. And we are able to become nostalgic, melancholic, sad because of what's gone. And we are able to project into the past. A creature that has to chew for 15 hours per day onto some grass in order to take in the minimum of energy for survival cannot do that. Not in the way we can. So there we have it, time, space, and energy.
Thank you for that image. Yeah, thank you. And I mean, what are you working on right now?
I'm here right now in my drawing room.
Mhm.
Oh, gee, I'm not sure if you can see some drawings in the back.
Yeah, I can.
I'm
And I
fit.
saw this work. Yeah.
Yes, we showed it in Munich,
Mhm.
at the Haus der Kunst not so long ago,
Yeah.
and so some of the things here are ready to be shipped. I'm usually spending my winter preparing new work. So I'm
Mhm.
going to start a new series of drawings on an upcoming piece.
Mhm.
We are finishing a work that will be about photography, film, and the history of the camera.
Ah, okay.
Um,
So the camera
in
itself will be
itself, yeah,
okay.
it will be, but it's a kind of a hidden away manner of relating to it, um, which will be titled The Close, and which should be finished by the end of the year.
Okay.
And actually, we're planning to show it in Munich,
Oh, where?
uh, by chance, at the Gallery Rüdiger Schöttler,
Ah,
my
yes.
my my gallery in Munich.
Oh,
I
great.
believe somewhere in March.
Mhm.
And I'm kind of excited about it because it's going very well, but it has taken us, believe it or not, but it has taken us more than 10 years to realize it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now I'm really curious.
You won't notice it.
That's the best always, when you can't notice the effort that was behind it.
And we're doing the last part now, which is putting everything together. And it involves also a choir with 24 singers.
Oh, okay.
So it's something unexpected and also unfamiliar for me.
Yeah.
And
Because
that,
we haven't actually said, sorry to interrupt you, that the video Long Goodbye is completely silent.
yes,
We didn't really say that.
it's
Mhm.
a memory is silent, and
Mhm.
I like my art to be witnessed or to be remembered
Mhm.
in memory. In fact, stronger than when actually seeing it. So, and memory has no sound, doesn't it? Um, when it when it's a trauma, it has sound
Mhm.
because then your entire organism shrieks and panics. But when it's a memory in time, there's no sound. So
Mhm.
I'm careful with the sound pieces. I
Yes.
don't think I don't think one should make too many noisy works.
Okay, but now you have a choir that is going to be part of the next piece. Okay.
It is an it's a mute film with a sound component, but it's not
Okay.
sound that belongs to the film. It's actually sound that's quite disconnected from the film. Um, but it serves us to um, reestablish a sensorial sense of fullness
Mhm.
in the film. That's why we recorded sound.
Okay. So I'm looking forward to March.
I hope.
Yes, fingers crossed. Okay, well, David, really thank you for your time. We talked a lot about time, and also for all these very interesting insights into this piece and also the upcoming work.
It was very nice talking to you, and thank you for showing the work at the museum.